In the far reaches of the galaxy, where no sunlight reached and silence ruled space, there floated a dark, broken space station. This was Velkar 9, a secret place where the worst kind of trade happened, slave auctions. Inside the rusty hall of the station, lights flickered. Creatures from many worlds, small, large, slimy, shiny, walked around. Their eyes searched cages lined up against the metal walls. Inside each cage, there was a living being, captured and priced. A voice echoed across the hall. Next up, Unit 443A, strong, big, and made for war. The lights turned to a large cage. Inside stood a tall creature, over 9 feet high, with muscles like stone and skin like armor. Her eyes glowed blue, but there was no life in them. Just silence. The auctioneer, a small yellow alien with 6 arms, tapped the cage bars. Come on, take a look. Stronger than your cargo ships, can lift 10 tons. But the buyers laughed. Too big, one lizard alien said. She won't fit in. Our minds, another hissed. Ugly, a third added. One by one, they moved to the next cage, ignoring her. The creature didn't react. She had seen this before. This was the 4th auction in 5 moons. No one ever made an offer. She was created in a lab for war, but the war ended. Now, no one needed her. She was too strong for peace and too big for anything else. Do I even exist? She thought. Suddenly, the hall grew quiet. All heads turned toward the door. A human had entered. Humans were rare here. They didn't visit such dark places. They didn't buy slaves. But here he was, tall, wearing a dark coat, his face calm but serious. His boots echoed on the floor as he walked slowly through the hall. The auctioneer's smile grew wide. Ah, a rare visitor from Earth looking for something special. The human didn't reply. He walked past cages, one by one, without stopping. The buyers watched him, curious. Then he reached her cage. He stopped. He looked up at the tall creature inside. For a moment, no one spoke. The woman, the creature, stared back. For the first time in months, someone was looking at her without fear or how much. The human asked. The auctioneer blinked. Sir, maybe you'd prefer a smaller unit? Or perhaps a model with better looks? The human didn't move his eyes. How much for her? The auctioneer scratched his head. Honestly? She's been here a while. No bids. Take her for 2,000 credits. The buyers whispered. He's joking. That's junk. Why waste credits on that? The human nodded. I'll take her. The cage opened. The creature stepped out slowly, expecting pain. No one had ever freed her without hurting her after. She waited for chains, commands, orders. Instead, the human simply turned and said, "Let's go." She followed, silent, confused. As they left, one of the alien buyers shouted, "Hey, human, what are you going to do with that thing?" The man stopped at the door. "I see what you don't," he said quietly. "She's not a thing." And with that, the human and the creature disappeared into the shadows of the docking bay. Asterisk. The door of the auction hall closed behind them. Darkness, silence. Cold space wind touched the metal floors of docking bay 7. The human kept walking. Slow, steady steps toward his small ship. Behind him, the tall creature followed without speaking. Her feet were heavy, as if each step could break the floor. She didn't ask questions. Why would she? No one had ever explained anything to her. The ship was simple, old, scratched, but clean. As the door opened with a hiss, warm light spilled onto her face, a strange warmth she hadn't felt in years. He turned. "Get in," he said calmly. She obeyed. Inside, everything felt different. There were no chains, no locked doors, no cameras watching her. She sat in a corner. Not because he told her to, but because she didn't know what else to do. The human sat in the pilot's seat and started the ship. It lifted gently off the ground and entered space, leaving Velkar 9 behind like a bad memory. Minutes passed. Then, hours. Still, no words. She stared at the metal floor, her mind spinning. Was this another experiment? Another trap? Why had he taken her? Finally, the silence broke. You hungry? She looked up. Was that a trick question? He stood near the food console, pressed a few buttons. A warm meal dropped onto the tray. He placed it on the table near her and stepped back. Not a command, not a test. Just food. She crawled toward it, sniffed, then picked it up carefully. It smelled real. She took a bite. Her eyes blinked. It had flavor. He watched her, not like a scientist watches a subject, but like a man trying to understand someone. Different. Do you have a name? She didn't answer. Or did they just call you Unit? Still silence. The human nodded slowly, as if he understood her without needing words. I'll call you Ro. She frowned. Ro? She whispered, voice rough like broken stone. It's from Earth. It means strength in an old language. You have that. She stared at him. This was no normal human. Others had called her monster, machine, weapon. This one had given her a name that night, or whatever time it was. In space, she watched him from the shadows. He worked at the control panels, fixed wires, cleaned tools, practiced strange slow movements in the empty training room. She saw scars on his arms. Long, deep ones? Not fresh, old. He had lived through something. So had she. The next day. She finally spoke. Why me? He didn't turn. Just kept working. Because I saw something in your eyes. She shook her head. No one sees anything. Not in me. He finally looked at her. That's because they don't look deep enough. A long pause. I don't understand you, she said. You will. Later. She walked to the mirror in the ship's side hall. She looked at herself for the first time in years. Her body was massive, made for war. Her skin, dark and rough. Her eyes, glowing like frozen stars. Everything about her screamed weapon. But now, she had a name. Now. Someone saw her. Maybe, she thought, I am more than they told me. In another part of the galaxy. Far away. A message flashed on a screen in a secret command base. Unit 443A has been sold. Unknown human buyer. Possible risk. Watch closely. Back. On the ship, Ro stood beside the human as they flew past a red star. She looked at the stars and whispered, Where are we going? He answered, To find out what you really are. Asterisk. The ship floated through space like a silent ghost. No alarms, no loud engines, just a soft hum, steady and calm. Ro had never felt this kind of silence before. Not the silence of a cage. Not the silence of fear, but the silence of peace. She walked through the ship slowly, one step at a time. Her large body almost touched the ceiling. The halls were narrow. The lights were dim. But the air was warm, and the floors were clean. No guards, no eyes watching. No orders. Just her. And him. The human was in the control room, sitting in the captain's chair. He didn't turn as she entered. He simply spoke, calm and low. How did you sleep? She blinked. Sleep? Real sleep? Not on cold metal, not chained to a wall, but in an actual bed with a soft light and warmth. Strange, she said. Quiet. He nodded. You'll get used to it. She walked closer. Her massive hands touched the control panel lightly, like she was afraid it would break under her strength. This ship, it listens. It breathes. The human smiled faintly. Old Earth tech. Built for long travel. Not fast, but loyal. Like me, she tilted her head. You trust machines? I trust what's real. He looked at her straight into her glowing eyes. You're real. She didn't know what to say. No one had ever said that before. She sat down slowly on the metal bench beside the window. Outside, stars moved slowly, endless and cold. In that moment, she felt small, and it was the first time in her life she liked that feeling. The days passed like drifting dust. No battles. No orders, just routine. He trained in silence. Slow punches, balance moves, breathing. She watched. Then one day she joined him. Her steps were heavy, untrained, but he didn't laugh. He just moved aside and said, try. She mimicked. Him, step, turn. Breathed Dot, it wasn't perfect, but it was peaceful. He gave her tasks. Small ones, check the oxygen tank. Adjust the gravity dial. Organize tools. No weapons. No tests. No pain. She worked in silence. And each time she did something right, he would simply nod. That was enough. One evening, while she cleaned the power core vents, she heard a strange sound. Music. Soft. Gentle. Like wind on a calm lake. She followed it to the bridge. The human sat there, eyes closed, listening to the sound through a tiny old speaker. He didn't stop it when she entered. She stood still, listening too. What is it? She asked. Piano. An old earth instrument. My mother used to play it. Rose said. Nothing. But her heart, the one she didn't know she still had, felt warm. Later that night, she asked him something. Why are you alone? The human looked out the window. Because people leave. She nodded. She understood that too well. And you? He asked quietly. Why were you in that cage? Her eyes dimmed. A memory flashed. Soldiers cheering. Fire falling from the sky. Voices yelling. Too dangerous. Shut it down. I was made for war. Then the war ended. I had no use. He looked at her, eyes full of something she couldn't name. They were blind. The next morning, Rose stood in the mirror again. Same tall body. Same hard skin, same burning eyes. But now she stood taller. Her shoulders no longer drooped. Her breath was calmer. She touched her chest. I am not just a weapon. Far away, a message was sent. Subject Row active. Human involvement confirmed. Intercept in 72 hours. But Row didn't know that yet. She only knew that for the first time. In her life, she had a name, a place, and maybe even a future. The calm didn't last. Space rarely stays quiet for long. It began with a single red light. Blinking on the ship's console. The human noticed it first. Unmarked ship. No ID code. Tracking us. Ro looked up. Her body tensed. Instincts waking. Like sleeping wolves. Pirates? She asked. Maybe stay close. The ship's interior changed quickly. Red lights turned on. Shields activated. Doors sealed with soft clicks. The human moved calmly, like he had done this before. He handed Ro a small device, a communicator. Stay here. Lock this room. If I don't return. But she didn't take it. No, she said. I go with you. He paused, looked at her, not as a weapon, not as property, but as a person choosing to stand beside him. He nodded. The ship shook as something hit the outer hull. A second later, metal claws pierced the cargo bay. A boarding drill. The attackers were fast. Thin bodies, long arms, eyes like insects. 3 of them, armed. Fast. The human rolled, took cover, fired once. One dropped, but the second rushed him. Claws. Cutting into his side. Blood. Ro had never seen human blood before. She froze. She remembered labs, tests, screams. Back then, they told her not to feel, only to obey. But now, no one was controlling her. This time, the pain wasn't hers. It was his. This time. She cared. With a deep rising growl. Ro moved, not like a machine, not like a puppet, but like a storm. She crashed into the attackers, her body a wall of fury. The second pirate flew across the room, bones snapping. The third turned to run, too late. Her hand grabbed him midair and slammed him down. Silence returned, but not peace. She turned to the human. He was on the floor, bleeding. Don't move, she said, voice shaking. She lifted him easily, like he weighed nothing, and carried him to the med pod. The machine hissed, sealed, began healing. She sat beside it, hands stained with his blood, chest rising fast. She had saved him. By her own choice. Hours passed. The human opened his eyes, winced, smiled. Did we win? Ro leaned closer. You almost died, but I didn't, because I protected you. He looked at her, not with fear, not with control, but with something she had never seen before. Respect. Later. As he rested, Ro stood alone on the bridge. Her reflection stared back from the dark glass. She was still large, still rough, still strange. But something had changed. She had not followed an order. She had not waited to be told. She had acted, to protect, to choose. I am not what they made me, she whispered. I am what I decide to be. Far across the galaxy, an encrypted signal reached a cold, silent command base. Unit 443A. Engage in combat. Fully active. Human still alive. The reply was short. Proceed with retrieval. Terminate if necessary. Back on the ship, Rose sat beside the sleeping human. The stars moved slowly outside, but inside her, something moved faster, like a new fire had started. She didn't know what would come next, but she knew one thing. Now, she was not a tool. She was a protector, and no one would cage her again. Asterisk. The ship floated quietly near a dead moon, hidden in its shadow. Inside, the lights were low. The human lay on a medical bed, healing. Rose sat nearby, still silent, staring out the window. But her mind was not here. It was somewhere else, somewhere dark, somewhere old. Flashback. Years ago, she was in a white room. Not white like peace, white like death. Metal tables, bright lights. Cold tools, no names, only numbers. Subject 443, I engaged strength trial. A voice through a speaker. She obeyed, always obeyed. She lifted metal beams. Crushed stone with her hands. They measured everything, her breath, her speed, her pain. They never said, good job, only, next. Again. Fix it. They never asked what she felt because she wasn't built to feel. She was built to win wars. Then, one day the war was over. The scientists gathered, whispered, too large for civilian use. No emotional chip. Shutdown schedule. Shutdown. Not. Retirement. Not freedom. Just erase her. But someone made a mistake. Left the door unlocked. She ran, captured, sold, moved, caged. Again. Until the day a quiet human pointed at her cage and saw something no one else did. Present back on ship, the human stirred, opened his eyes. He saw her face, serious, distant. You were somewhere else, he said softly. I was remembering, Ro replied. She stood up, walked to the small table, picked up a glass of water. I was not born. I was built in a lab, grown like a weapon. The human listened. I never had a birthday. I never had a mother. I was tested, judged, then thrown away. She sat beside him. Do you still think I'm real? He didn't answer right away. Then, with effort, he sat up. Let me ask you something. He said, when I was hurt and bleeding, why did you save me? She blinked. Because you matter. Exactly, he nodded. That's what makes you real. They sat in silence for a while. Then he added, you weren't made wrong. You were made for the wrong world. Rose stared at him, her glowing blue eyes softer than ever before. Then maybe I can make my own world now. That's the only one that matters, he said. Later, Ro walked alone into the cargo bay. She opened a metal locker. Inside were old parts, broken weapons from the past. Her past. She picked up a steel armband. Not a weapon, just a memory. She crushed it, slowly in her hand. That version of me is gone. She dropped the crushed metal and walked away, taller, stronger, free in her mind for the first time. Meanwhile, elsewhere, on a hidden space station, a group of silent officers looked at a screen. Subject 443A has broken programming. One said, then she is dangerous. Another replied. The commander gave a cold nod. Send the retrieval team. End her if needed. Asterisk Ro and the humans sat on the deck, watching a distant star rise behind a dark planet. What happens next? She asked. He smiled faintly. We find out what else you can be. She looked out, not afraid. For the first time, she didn't just exist. She belonged. Asterisk. The ship floated above a dusty orange planet. Smoke curled from its surface. A message blinked on the console. Emergency. Mining station K-12. Structural collapse. Lives trapped. Rose stood beside the human, watching the screen. Are we going? She asked. He looked at her. I wasn't planning to. It's dangerous. She didn't look away from the message. People need help. The human raised an eyebrow. You sure? Ro nodded. Let's go. Planet surface mining station K-12. Chaos. The sky was filled with dust. Alarms screamed. Miners in torn uniforms ran between broken metal towers. A large structure had cracked, half buried under rubble. Screams came from inside the wreckage. There were still people under there. Someone shouted. Rescue teams struggled to lift metal beams. Their machines were too weak. Then they saw. Her. Ro stepped out of the ship, tall, strong, and silent. Everything stopped. Voices dropped. Heads turned. Whispers followed her. What is that? Too big. Wait, is that a human with her? Ro didn't speak. She looked at the wreckage, then walked toward it. The team leader tried to stop her. Hey, you can't. She gently moved him aside, not with force. With purpose, then she placed her massive hands under a steel pillar, closed her eyes, took a breath, and lifted. The ground cracked beneath her feet. Metal groaned. Sparks flew. For a second, it looked like the world would collapse on her, but it didn't. She held the structure like the pillar of a broken sky and shouted, Go! Get them out! Rescue workers rushed inside. From under the wreckage they pulled. Children, old workers, injured crew, one by one. Each one looked at her with wide eyes. Fear, then awe. Minutes passed. Sweat ran down her back. Her arms shook, but she didn't let go. From a distance, the human watched, quiet, proud. This is her choice, he whispered. And no one is forcing her. Finally, the last person was out. The commander gave the signal. Ro let the structure fall behind her and collapsed. To one knee, breathing hard, the human ran to her. You okay? She looked up, face covered in dirt, arms cut, muscles burning. I'm fine. They're safe. Then something unexpected happened. The crowd, the same crowd that stared, doubted, whispered, began to clap. First a few, then more, then many, 100 people, cheering for her. For the first time in her life, they saw her not as a monster, not as a weapon, not as too big, but as a hero. One small child, no more than 6 years old, walked to her holding a drawing, a stick figure, tall, strong, smiling. This is you, the child said. You saved us. Ro took it slowly, gently. She didn't speak. She just smiled. That night, back on the ship, the human handed her a cloth to clean her wounds. You didn't have to do that, he said. Ro looked at the stars. I did. He tilted his head. Why? She turned to him. Because I could. From the darkness of space, a camera hidden in a nearby satellite zoomed in on her face. Far away, in a dark room filled with monitors, a voice spoke coldly. She's more dangerous than we thought. Another voice replied, She's more human than we ever allowed. Ro stood at the window of the ship, the child's drawing still in her hand. The stars didn't feel so cold anymore. The stars were quiet again. The ship drifted near a peaceful blue planet, a neutral zone, a place where wars didn't reach. Inside the ship, Ro stood at the window, the child's drawing still tucked in her hand. Behind her, the human leaned on the railing. You were seen, he said. Really seen. Ro didn't turn. Not everyone saw a hero. Some still saw a weapon. And what did you see? She paused. I saw a protector. Then the message came. A silver ship landed nearby. Clean. Official. 2 figures stepped out, dressed in sharp uniforms, Galactic Union officers. They entered the ship with calm steps. One looked at Ro, the other at the human. No weapons drawn. But no smiles either. We're not here to arrest, the first said. We're here to offer. Ro raised an eyebrow. Offer? What? The officer tapped a small projector. A glowing image filled the air. A new rescue program. The galaxy has changed. We need people with power, heart, skill. You saved over 30 lives. That speaks louder than your past. Ro said nothing. The other officers stepped forward. Join us, Ro. Not as a tool, not as a unit, but as yourself. You'll be free, respected, given full rights. A pause. The choice is yours. They left the offer on the table and gave her 1 hour to decide. Ro walked the quiet halls of the ship. She touched the steel walls, sat where she used to train, walked past the mirror where she once feared her reflection. Then she entered. The engine room. Got the human was there, fixing a wire. He looked up. So, what we do? She didn't answer right away. You gave me freedom the moment you opened that cage, she said softly. But now I have to choose what to do with it. He nodded. If you leave, I won't stop you. She looked down. I know. That's what makes this harder. He stepped closer, voice gentle. You don't owe me anything. I know, she whispered. But I want to fight for something. Not because I'm built for it, because I believe in it. 1 hour later, the officers stood outside the ship. Ro approached Dot. No chains. No armor. Just yourself. You want my answer? They nodded. Yes. She stood tall. I will join, but on my terms. No orders without truth. No lies about what I am. And no more cages. For anyone. They looked at each other, surprised. But impressed. The older officer smiled. Agreed. The human walked up beside her. So, is this goodbye? She shook her head. No, this is beginning. You saved me, now I save others. Together? If you'll come? He smiled. I thought you'd never ask. Later, the first mission. A new rescue ship flew across the galaxy. Its name. RA-01 inside. Ro sat in the captain's seat. Beside her, the human checked coordinates. Behind them. A new team. Young recruits. Inspired by stories of the giant who saved a colony. She looked at her hands. They hadn't changed. Still large, still strong, but now they were hers, somewhere. Far away in a cold lab, a screen showed her ship leaving orbit. A voice spoke in the dark. We failed to control her. Another replied, but maybe we made something better than control. Ro stood at the front window. Stars stretched before. Her voice was calm, full of purpose. Set course. We've got lives to save.